Hey, this is Anthony Parrilli with the Billion Bet Podcast, and today we have Greg Chapman on. Greg, thanks for joining us.
Hey Anthony, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you. I guess we got connected on Instagram probably a few weeks ago, I think, correct?
Yeah.
And here we are now on a podcast, getting to know each other.
Yes, sir. So you run, is it Divana Mushrooms?
Yeah, I have two businesses currently, actually, which is honestly too much. I never recommend that to anybody. Yeah, I have Divana Mushrooms, which is online store for adaptogenic mushroom products. I don't know if you've ever heard of like lion's mane mushroom, chaga, reishi, anything like that.
Briefly, very briefly.
Okay. All right.
But
We'll definitely get into some more of that. And then in the last year, I started a solar company. Um, yeah, so we are selling solar out here in San Diego. The company's actually called Sunny San Diego Solar. Um, and really got into that one because I think that as I've gotten older, I see the value in like local service companies over kind of having like a specialty niche market product. Um, because solar is something that honestly a lot of people already have and are starting to need to get serviced and upgraded and all sorts of those things. And then it's also something that even more people still need, especially as energy rates around the nation are skyrocketing. It really helps people take power back, for their own energy production. So I'm really excited about it. And that's kind of where I'll try and talk about most, honestly, is the solar company, because I think it has a really bright future.
yeah, I mean, you're definitely in a good part of the country that gets a lot of sun.
hmm Every day. I mean, it's bright blue right now.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah, it was a little nippy out here this morning. It was like 20, 30 degrees this morning, a little cold, but I'm sure you guys don't really experience that much.
No, you definitely get soft skin living in a place like this, though. Growing up in Colorado, lived in Wyoming for a while. I'm used to the cold. I like the cold. It can be like -30 one day, and you just deal with it. But here, the temperature only ranges 10, 20 degrees and all year round. And then you go back to cold places and you're just like, oh, I forgot what that feels like. Like this is what real cold is. So, it gets like a little chilly. It'll be like 68 and it'll be like, it's cold.
So, what kind of got you into starting your own solar company?
So
What
the
were you
solar
doing before that?
company, yeah, the solar company is the most recent of a long list of businesses that I've started ever since entering my professional career. Yeah. I I learned at an early age that I'm just an entrepreneur. I'm meant to work for myself. Um, I like working with people, but not for people, if that makes sense. I don't know how many people out there have had bosses that don't quite really know how things are supposed to go. But I definitely had some experiences with that early on, and it helped push me to basically only ever wanting to run my own companies. Um, so dropped out of college inadvertently because I'd started a house painting company and just decided to stick with that and keep going, which turned into a few years of sales jobs and then finally getting into starting a marketing company. Um, yeah, and I learned a lot in the marketing company just about really what it takes to get customers. Um, and spend a lot of time trying to get customers for other people. Sometimes successful, sometimes not. But learning a lot along the way. And then that company went the way of the dodo bird during 2020, just because small businesses didn't really have money to spend on marketing anymore. And a lot of them weren't even doing business during that time. So wasn't a lot of work. And then that's kind of when I started my mushroom company. One of my previous clients had reached out to me, said, "Hey, mushrooms are booming right now. It'd be a good time to get in the industry." And I wasn't doing anything else at the time. And so I took it upon myself to create a brand, Divana Mushrooms. And so we just do online sales. We have a little online marketing schema that's going, and it brings in some consistent traffic. It's just growing organically every month. And the majority of my products are fulfilled by the original manufacturer. I do have one unique product that we sell in house. It's a nootropic. We sell it to a lot of entrepreneurs and athletes, helps people focus, helps reduce anxiety, and uplift your mood. And so we're seeing a lot of success with that. But yeah, it's great. I'll have to send you some samples. It's called Flow State. It's our nootropics, and it's based on a mushroom called lion's mane mushroom, which helps your neuronal health in your brain. So it helps clear up your brain fog, it helps your short-term memory, and it helps boost your mood. And I paired that with a handful of other ingredients that kind of compound those effects. And yeah, we've been seeing tremendous results with that as it gets out to more and more people.
I've even heard that the lion's mane can help with like dementia patients as well, correct?
You are absolutely correct in that. So basically, what they're doing with these dementia patients is I think they're not just using lion's mane, but a combination of lion's mane, niacin, which is a form of B3, a vitamin, I believe, and then psilocybin mushroom extracts. So they're doing something called what's a Stamets stack, which is created by named after a guy named Paul Stamets, who is pretty much the godfather of mushrooms in America. He's been studying them for the last few decades. And they're doing these nerve type tests. There's something called the tap test. So it's like how many times you can tap your fingers in a certain amount of time. And so as you age, just like everything else, your nerve endings wear out. And so, that's kind of why you start to see a lot of elderly people like start to fall, drop things like that, because their body just isn't talking to itself the same as it used to. So what they're seeing is that people are drastically increasing how many times they can tap their fingers on a table, let's say, in a certain amount of time, which is showing that there is a much stronger nerve connection from their brain to their fingertips after a certain amount of time of taking these mushroom supplements. And then so they're going in and they're actually looking at the nerves in the brains as well. And I believe it's called an amyloid plaque that builds up on your neurons themselves, on your nerves. And so the mushrooms, the lion's mane is actually going in and help clear those out and reconnect the nerves to each other in what's called a nerve growth factor, NGF. And so that people are actually starting to reform their old memories, regain their old memories, regain like their personality and their ability to be present. And it is completely changing people's lives. And so, America is very anti-Eastern culture a lot of the time, but we're starting to see a lot of these natural medicines, natural herbs start to pop up and be like, these are actually great for you. We have a lot of Western medicine, which is basically extracts and purified ingredients from plants and fungus from around the world, molds, even things like that. So, but what Eastern medicine does, and more of a naturopathic way of doing wellness, is that it gives you, it's called like an entourage effect from like the full plant. So entourage effect is something that you'll hear most commonly associated with like cannabis. So you have like, your THCs and your CBDs, and I don't remember the exact number, it's been a while, but there's a few dozen cannabinoids in cannabis. There's not just THC and CBD. There's all sorts of different types of THC, different types of CBDs, and they work together to create an effect within the body, as well as with the terpenes. And those are what create like euphoria or calm or sleep or energetic feelings, the combinations of those things. So I think we're finding that being able to do like whole plant or whole uh, fungus mushroom extracts and then using those is that we're not really losing the entourage effect of um, the effective ingredients within these supplements.
Why do you think that Western culture has kind of shifted away from these natural remedies?
I think, I mean, we can get deep on like let's say conspiracy theory level,
Right.
and say that so let's say the far right or left, whatever direction of the argument is, I believe it was the Rockefellers who were in
Okay.
oil and gas, and they had all of these extra petroleum byproduct, and they needed something to do with it, so they created the pharmacy industry, basically. Let's make medicines. And I believe I'm quoting this correctly, but and then from there, then they founded, or maybe they did it before, the American Medical Association, which created the guidelines for all of the medical schools. So they're basically saying, let's teach people to buy our products to make them better. So if you look at the entire American medical industry, it's very much wait till you have a problem, then come let us solve it for you.
Yes.
So, I think with every tale, there's a grain of salt, there's another opinion. There's probably 1,000 different people that had micro impressions on the industry that drove it to where it is today. Um, we can't, we most certainly can't ever really point one person out and be like, you did this, so everything is your fault. But I definitely enjoy the extreme point of view from time to time. It kind of gives you like a talking point or a jumping off point to kind of be like, okay, so maybe there is room for improvement in our medical system, which I think is very obvious if you live in America. But I think that what a lot of people are seeing is that preventative medicine, aka wellness, is a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable than spending time at the doctor's getting fixed because you let things get so bad. So like it's kind of like you buy a car. You're gonna change the oil, rotate tires, buy new tires, change the filters, put in gas, you know. The human body is very much a machine as well. If you put in good fuel, you make sure that you're wearing good shoes, that you're exercising, just like a car, you got to drive it every once in a while, otherwise it gets all stiff and locks up. It's very I guess, what am I trying to say? It's very obvious when you start thinking about it that these maintenance rituals will help us get more miles out of our bodies before we break down. Um, and so we saw a lot of it coming through quarantine. I think the government kind of exposed itself when it tried to impose all its new rules and kind of showed us their regime a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they had to tell everybody that there were no other treatments in order to legally mandate that people could get the vaccine and fast track it. So anytime anybody came out, and these are people, there's so many stories of people that are like the best virologists or the best immunologists in the world, and coming out and saying these things are like, no, like There's a guy that created, I don't remember what the one is that Joe Rogan was taking, but it was an antiviral. It's very common. The guy that created it won a Nobel Prize for it because of how many lives across the world he's saved. It's like less than $1 a dose. It's pennies per dose. Highly available, highly manufacturable.
Is that the
Uh,
ivermectin?
yes, that one. And they had to say that it didn't work. You know what else
Yeah.
they didn't say? They didn't say get exercise. They didn't say eat clean food. In fact, they gave away free donuts to people that got the vaccine.
Yep.
What is one of the worst things you can do for your health and your natural immunity and your natural, like your white blood cell count. I think there's something called like your killer cells, and they go around and they hunt down bad things. All of those are
And fried food, seed oils. Yeah. There's a McDonald's within a mile in every direction, right? It's just, they make it so easy for you to just fall into these traps, essentially, is what they are. They're traps. Because that stuff shouldn't be in your body. It's maybe, once in a blue moon, but oh. And really the thing here is that if you take someone like me, in shape, I'm 21 years old, if that virus was going to wipe out me, then it was going to kill everybody. Guaranteed. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. If and then they're pumping all these people full of these vaccines that hadn't been tested. They never found a cure for cancer in the last 50, 100 years, but they have a cure for this just overnight. It's complete BS.
yeah, viruses are so complex, they change so fast, they mutate. I mean, it was like all of last year.
And the scary thing is, I never took any of them, but I know people that did, and they got like three or four. And in their office that they're working at, there's 12 people now with cancer. Two of them have the same exact thing.
It's crazy. I kind of got put down this path when I was about 20. My dad was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when he was all but 41 years old.
What exactly
Um,
is that?
so it's in your lymph nodes. So I don't know very much about the details, but I guess there's Hodgkin's lymphoma and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And out of the two to get, it's, non-Hodgkin lymphoma is less deadly. So, he did his radiation, he came through all right. But pretty much what they said was it was most likely exposure to Roundup and other
Really?
chemicals. Yeah. That they were seeing that with a lot of people. Because at 41 years old, like you shouldn't be getting cancer. He's very healthy outside all the time. He was an active cyclist doing hundreds of miles a month. Um, and how does that hit you? And he's even a pretty healthy person, like as far as what he eats. Like he pretty much ate home cooked food every day. So where do you get all of the toxins in your body to get cancer at such a young age, especially when it doesn't run in our family? So they pretty much said when it's in the lymph nodes like that, that it's generally like a toxin buildup, most likely from chemical exposure. So, kind of from that age, I kind of started to become aware of the fact that, like, oh shit, like all these things that we interact with that they say is safe, like, might not be safe. Um, and this was 2007, I think, ish. And so we were just kind of coming out of the mass media era, and we were really just like Facebook had just come out. It was still in the college students only era. Like you had to have a college email to get in. So we were just starting to like information share and starting to see that like, okay, like there's there's more going on here than they're telling us. Like there's other opinions. There are facts that they're hiding from us. And so that's kind of when you start learning, like, okay, like maybe these, it starts with the vegetable oils. Like they always,
Mm.
we grew up on margarine. I remember my parents would be like, we grew up on butter. But in my house, when I was a kid, all we had was margarine because butter was bad for us. And now we're getting up and then we're seeing that the seed oils that margarine is made of is bad for you. Um, and it's just like, okay, so what else is bad for me? What else are we changing in our diets today? Because that's not going to be good for me because I don't want to get cancer because I could have chose between one thing or another and chose the one that's going to get.
Yeah, that's really it's incredible that they just keep getting away with it and there's no repercussions. The people at the top just do whatever they want and everybody else essentially suffers from it. I guess talk about it like we are now, right? Try and spread it, tell our friends, tell our family, but ultimately, they have to make the decision for themselves.
Absolutely do. And, it took me, and it's still taking me time to, be strict on certain things or even learning what is good for me and what's bad for me. Um, it's like growing up, we had the food pyramid, and it was the bottom layer was grains. And it's just like eat 10 servings of bread a day. And then it's like, well, it looks like America ate at least 10 servings of bread a day now because we have over a 40% obesity rate in this country.
And when you go to the doctor, I've I've never heard the doctor once tell you like, "Oh, you should start exercising more. Maybe you should do this and do that." No, they just want to give you a pill and a pill, and there's a pill for everything. There's a diet pill. Like it's and now they're seeing with these diet pills that the bone density in people is just going down like badly and their bones are becoming weak.
Yeah, I think that's just a loss of nutrition thing. So like the Ozempic, I think, is that what the new one's called? So that one, I think what it does is it tricks your body into thinking it's not even hungry. Um, and so you're basically lying to your body. I'm hearing that it has all sorts of side effects that people weren't planning for. I think it's something like with your livers or kidneys. It's really messing with them. I haven't heard a lot about it, and people just started taking it like in this last year, really. So all these side effects are really just starting to come out. This miracle weight loss, everything has a cost. It's like, what about changing your habits? What about changing what you eat every day? Like, which one is harder, dealing with a new illness or organ failure? Because you're taking this drug that is unproven but does this miracle thing somehow, or eating a different lunch every day. Even just one meal a day can change everything.
So, are there any of these mushrooms that help kind of cleanse your body of these toxins that we've seen?
So, mushrooms work in ways that, so the mushrooms wouldn't come in and cleanse your body directly. What the mushrooms do is they come in and then they help boost your body to do what your body does naturally and just kind of help optimize those processes. Um, so like there are a couple of different mushrooms that help fight specific cancers. Like turkey tail helps fight colon cancer.
We have that one by us in the woods. I've seen it before. It's quite common. Yeah, all different colors.
All sorts of various benefits. It's one of my favorite ones called cordyceps, also known as the athlete's mushroom. If you ever saw the show The Last of Us,
Okay.
that is a play on a mutated form of the cordyceps mushroom. So there's a couple different forms of it, but basically, in the wild, one of the forms is it creates like zombie ants. So the spore goes down and lodges in the ant, takes over the brain, and makes the ant climb as high up out of the tree as it can until the mushroom takes over too much. And then it basically becomes like part of the tree. And then a little spore comes out of the head of the ant and spreads more zombie mushroom spores to all the other surrounding areas.
No way.
Um, yeah. But what this mushroom does in the human body when you eat it is it helps your energy system um, release more of your stored energy for exhausting activities, basically. So, um, for your day to day exercising and stuff like that, it may or may not work very well. But like we have one customer that does like super marathons,
Okay.
and he takes out the tincture, I guess, like while he's running and drops it, and he's been beating his own times because what it does is so we basically are designed to have like excess energy stored up like in our body. I think they say it's like 20% of our energy that we use like is storage. So that, in history, like we might have had to like run from a tiger or just run great distances just to find food or water or whatever. So in those times where we need that extra stored energy, it's there. So what the cordyceps does is it helps free up that energy so that as we're exercising, doing strenuous activity, it's
Interesting. One thing I've noticed, like around, because I'm in the Chicago suburbs. There's one forest preserve in particular that was actually the original settlement of the area. At one point, it was a pioneer settlement. Now it's just a forest, but it's essentially one of the only forests around here where there's no trails, no parking lot. And I went in there. I've gone in there a couple of times. It's one of my favorite ones because you don't see anybody, right? And the amount of mushrooms and the different kinds of mushrooms in this forest are just incredible. Like things I've never seen before, or I try and look them up just to see, like, what are these things? And it's like there's no research at all on them.
they they have been a mystery for a long time. There's I think I want to say like 30,000, probably a lot more types of mushrooms. Um, the vast majority of them are edible or semi-edible. Um, a large a large portion, probably almost the same size, I think, is will make you sick, and then there's a portion that will kill you. And then over here is another little portion that we call the adaptogenic mushrooms, the like I deal in, that have specific health benefits on the body. So the vast majority of them would just be like a food source. And then mushrooms are neither plant nor animal, but they are more closely related genetically to animals than they are to plants. Let's see, mushrooms have been around longer than animal life. I think they're saying that basically before fungus came around, it was just all plant life, and then there was just a lot of like early forms of trees around. And as they died, they pretty much just fall over and then just stay there. There was no real decomposition process. And then, so what mushrooms do is they came in and fungus basically takes death and breaks it down and turns it into life. So then we came through, and then there's fossilized mushrooms that are like 10, 20 feet tall
No
because there
thanks.
was, yeah. So those were some of the earliest mushrooms, the earliest fungus. And so when all the plant life died and it was all stacked up, then you saw this explosion of fungus as it evolved, and it had basically this vast resource of food because there had never been anything else on this planet that would be able to decompose, decompose all of this dead plant life. Um, so it just exploded and took over. And then some people think that animal life then kind of evolved from fungus, or something along those lines. It's as I think anyone will tell you, you go back a few billion years, it's kind of all conjecture. I don't think anybody really fully understands how life started on this planet, but it's a fun theory, especially being in the mushroom industry. And they do actually have the fossilized and carbon dated records of the giant mushroom.
So is there any way if you were like out in the wild or let's say you got stranded somewhere that you could identify if this is something edible or if this is something that will kill you?
It's pretty much, it has to be a learned knowledge. There's so many different types, so many different shapes. There's so many that look almost exactly like other types, where one would be okay to eat and one will kill you or at least make you very sick. Which if you're stranded and alone, very sick, might as well be a death sentence. So the best advice I could say is just keep a book with you of edible plants and fungus. There are lots of guides available for people to purchase all over the place. Keeping one in your backpack if you're on an excursion would most certainly be the difference between life and death. Um, if you are just kind of foraging and picking up, I mean, there's like with berries, there are some general rules of thumb that you can follow. And I think it kind of goes like reds, blues, and purples. You're generally going to be safe to eat, like yellows and oranges, and in that more color spectrum are going to make you sick. And still, that's not 100%. But as far as mushrooms go, there's not really a rule of thumb like that, even. Like you just kind of have to know how to identify the mushrooms.
Very interesting. So what kind of prompted you to decide like I want to start advocating for these and kind of create a store to support, that economy?
So on one hand, there was a lot of data and metrics showing that Google searches and customer inquiries about mushrooms were really spiking.
When
Um,
was this?
this was 2020, end of
Okay.
2020. And then I tried the product. I tried Lion's Mane first. And after taking that for about 4 or 5 days, I realized that my brain fog was gone. I was in a better mood. My thoughts were clearer and sharper. And even like my short-term digit memory had nearly doubled.
And which mushrooms you currently take as a daily vitamin per se?
I take lion's mane and cordyceps pretty much on the daily. If I'm feeling under the weather a little bit, or if like somebody next to me that's been around me a lot is getting sick, I'll take turkey tail in some high doses, help boost my immune system. And those are my favorites. There are a couple others that I probably should incorporate a little bit more here and there. But for that, we have a blend of mushrooms that we sell. So I'll just take some of that because I'll kind of get a little bit of all of the different good mushrooms for you. Just kind of cover all my bases. But most certainly is the lion's mane. And I don't take anything every day because I believe in cycling and giving, you never want to do too much of anything, I don't think. But like if I am going to work and I'm feeling tired, if I have meetings like today, this is my third meeting.
Wow.
I was on camera for 2 hours this morning and then a business meeting and then here today. So I'm on a lot of lion's mane today to keep me sharp, keep me in the moment and present in what I'm doing. Most days aren't this busy for me. But today, a lot of verbal, a lot of mouth movement, a lot of thoughts, a lot of piecing things together properly so I don't sound like an idiot. Um, so today, definitely a lot of lion's mane and a fair amount of coffee as well, honestly. And again, I take my lion's mane. I do have tinctures, but I like to take mine with my flow state capsules, because I do have some other ingredients in there as well that help boost my memory and my cognition, such as like L-tyrosine, um, L-theanine, alpha GPC, and believe it or not, cocoa, just straight up cocoa powder, is a powerful nootropic and mood booster.
Oh, I would have never known. Is
Yeah,
that's like chocolate cocoa, right?
yeah. So you want to do your best to get unprocessed cocoa powder or unalkalized cocoa powder. So like if you get like a Nesquik or something, you're gonna get alkalized cocoa powder. And you want to get the cocoa before it hits that process, because then it loses a lot of its benefits.
Interesting. Where did you learn about all of this stuff?
You know, Google is a powerful tool. Um, I think it's more about just kind of getting an itch to want to learn about specific topics. And then, I mean, it's amazing what we have just in our pocket. Our cell phone has all the knowledge in the world, and it just takes a little bit of initiative, a little bit of time, and get the pizza. Pizza guy dropped a pizza on the doorstep.
Okay.
um, so yeah, and I've learned almost, I don't want to say all the skills that I have for business, but a large majority of them, like specific tasks and skills and knowledge bits, just from YouTube, following people on Instagram that already know what they're doing. I think one of my favorite marketing trends is everybody saying you got to give everything away before you ask for a sale. Because if you know what kind of information to glean for, you can pick out the bits and pieces that mean things and put together your own story.
Huh. And then kind of transitioning into the solar company, what kind of first got you like deciding, this, like I'm gonna basically go all in on this, and like how did you do it?
So the solar company is something that for the first time in a long time, I am treating as uh, a business to generate income.
Okay.
Um, a long time ago, I learned that I'm not personally motivated by money as my success factor. Whereas, I like it. It's a powerful tool to have. You can get a lot done with it, and you got to pay your rent and you got to eat, right? Um, but that was never really my motivation. I thought it was early on in my career, and it led to a lot of failures for me until I figured out that that wasn't why I should be starting businesses. But what happened here was I basically got to a point with the mushroom company where I needed to inject more capital in order to grow it.
Okay.
And I had two options on the table, either fundraise, which I have people interested in investing in it. And then I would basically, I don't like owing people money. I would basically have to work my ass off for these people that I now owe money to. Or I can figure out a way to generate more personal revenue than I was at the time, and then be able to invest my own money into it to grow it. So, and then also I had a daughter and decided I should probably
Congratulations.
start. Thank you very much. And so it basically was like I should probably start upping my personal income so that I can do things like buy a proper house, childcare, kids stuff, everything, just the whole family life. It costs a lot more money than being a single entrepreneur, like a lot. So we didn't jump in just nilly willy. We took our time. We picked a high ticket industry. I have a business partner in it. We're full 50-50. And it's really something where we said, okay, What's something that we can do? What's something that has a strong industry? And what's something that we also believe in? So we're not just getting into solar because it's great commissions, which that is a big part of it, honestly. But we're getting into it because it has a very strong future. I really truly believe that anybody that can should get solar. Um, I think that um, America is investing in solar companies. We're seeing hundreds of millions of dollars at a time being invested, not just from the government, but from the private sector into manufacturing in America. They're predicting that within the next few years, there will be 1.5 million solar jobs in America. And that's just in solar, not even the other renewable energies, which we do plan on expanding to get into someday. But it's uh it's just a commonplace thing now as well. It's hitting what's called the mass adoption rate.
Okay.
And we're entering into what they're calling the golden age in solar for about the next 10 years before solar becomes a commodity and something that anyone can just go to Home Depot and buy panels and install it themselves because it's so easy. Um,
Oh.
which which it's quickly getting to that point, by the way. There are many solar technologies coming out right now, and they just need to scale and become affordable, which on the general like panels and batteries themselves, we've already seen the manufacturing costs drop about 60-70% in just the last 2 years, as well as the effectiveness of the solar production per like square meter, almost doubling in the next couple of years as well. We're seeing things like solar tiles. So
Okay.
instead of panels, they're just tiles that get nailed on, just like a shingle roof. There is basically like a solar wallpaper that comes in a roll and has an adhesive on the back, and you roll it up walls, and then it just has a little wire on the bottom that you connect. There are organic solar film panels now where you can basically put like a film over your windows that's basically like a tint, and there's no wires on it, but there's a wire around the edge that catches all of the organically produced solar energy and directs it. So we'll be able to put solar film on like skyscrapers and things that are all windows. Um, they're really nifty. Like there's also getting into like wind energy for the home. There are like backyard arrays where they make like trees, basically a little structure, and it has lots of little wind turbines with little solar panels all over it, which is enough to power homes in lots of areas. There are walls that they're making, which have lots of tiny little like wind flaps that just kind of catch the wind and spin.
So as these technologies evolve, what do you think is going to happen with like the old stuff where someone maybe in 2010 or 15 had a solar roof put on? Are they now so like behind the curve where they need a new system now?
We are seeing that a lot. The panels, if they're taken care of, will last for a very, very long time, because there's no moving parts.
Okay.
So if they're taken care of, they're maintained, they're kept rust free, the wiring is kept up on, like they're not letting like critters, chomp on them and things like that. They're not letting birds build nests on their wiring harness and all that. Um, you're seeing that these panels are really going to last for a long time. Manufacturer warranty on a lot of these systems is 20 to 30 years just for the warranty. So if they go bad within that time frame, you're able to get a new system. Um, there's a difference between buying and leasing, which is kind of really just our two options. Like you can get a loan, you can pay cash, or you can lease the systems.
Okay.
If you buy the system, you get a 30% tax rebate on the cost of the system. So like you spend about 30 to 40 grand for the system usually. And so you'll get back like 10 to $15,000 as your tax rebate.
From
Um,
the government.
yes. And so they're not writing a check saying like, here's 12 grand, but you'll get tax credits. So if you owe 10 grand, you won't owe that 10 grand anymore.
Okay. And are you seeing with these old systems, is this creating a problem with landfills?
Um, it was the recycling and repurposing is starting to catch up. There are now recycling facilities that are recycling the batteries and the panels to above a 90% efficiency and are becoming profitable in the process because the panels and batteries are using just whole elements. So they're able to break these down, and it's still not super environmentally friendly. There's a lot of chemicals in the process and things like that that need to get refined. But you're able to take, the lithium and the plastics and the other metals and separate those and then repurpose them because they are their own elements, you know?
Yeah. Okay. And are you guys going like door to door? How are you marketing yourselves?
We do a lot of door to door, but that is not the only thing that we are doing. Coming from my background in marketing, we are building an online presence and
Okay.
a web of online business partners. So we partner with referral partners, so realtors, construction, roofing, really any home service company, and then we both can refer them as well. Be like, hey, we also have these guys that we can refer, just adding extra value for working with us. But and if we refer them, obviously we get like a nice little referral bonus, which is nice. Like we could refer people to you for small engine repair in Chicago, if we were in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we take our websites and then we basically both create a little piece about each other's company on each other's websites. So
Oh,
yeah, so they'll then go in and say that, like, if it's a construction company or a realtor, they're like, hey, we can now offer solar. And then they talk about our website and have a backlink. And then we are their back end solar provider. So they get a lead for that. They pass it to us. We take care of the whole thing. It's in-house for them. They also make a fat chunk of the commission based on whatever our agreement is, and then vice versa. So let's say they're a roofing company. And so we have a roofing section and we have different roofers that we work with. And so we will have, a little write up about their company, a couple reviews, a couple photos, and links back to their site. So it's all just creating this web online to catch leads. And every time we sign up a new business, we're creating another string in that web to catch these falling leads as everybody in the area is looking for anything that's a home service.
that's genius. That's a good idea because then they'll go to your website. You're trusted. You've vetted these people already. They trust you. They trust them. It's really a good network to have. Very interesting. And are you guys doing the installs yourself, or how does that work? Okay.
Build this business with I call it a zero overhead business model, which obviously there's always a little bit of overhead, but we don't have an office. We're all laptop warriors these days. I have a home office. You can see right over there. It's a mess. There's my baby chair too. But like you can see my whiteboard. That's where my computer really is, like all my notes, you know.
Okay.
Um, so we all work from home. And then so we all work from our laptops. We do phone calls. We can Zoom meet just like we're doing right now, face to face. Like you're in Chicago, I'm in San Diego. We're talking live. This is
Yeah.
beautiful. And we door knock. So yeah, no overhead, no liability. And then what we do though is we partnered with top solar installers that specialize in different things. So like we have, let's say, like one guy, he's got a 3-story house, tile roof, really steep. So we went to like one of our top installers who's got literally a 5-star rating, like no bad ratings. And we're like, okay, these guys have to do this job because it's very technical. There's going to be a lot of like different arrays that they have to connect because there's like a weird roof and they got to make it work. And
Okay.
then we go all the way to the other side where like we just want to do it's a cookie cutter job, got a big open roof, super easy, one big array, like no problems. Then we have this other company, like they might only have like a 3.5 star, but they'll install it in a month instead of in 3 months. So we all get paid faster, the customer gets installed faster, all of that. But we're not going to use a 3.5 star company on a complicated job. And if we're going to make the same money for an easy job, we might as well use the fast company for the easy job. And then, we have people that they'll want like American made panels, or some people specifically want a Tesla Powerwall because they love Tesla products. And so we're able to go in and instead of being the salesperson being like, you got to buy our shit, you got to buy us, we're the best, our panels, our batteries, our way, we're able to say, what do you need?
Okay.
What is going to solve your problems? What is going to make this the perfect solution for your home? And then we're able to build the right package for people instead of having to be that high pressure sales.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, almost everybody wants solar, but it's intimidating. And no one wants to deal with a door to door salesman selling some lease where nobody understands what's going on. They don't understand how the system is going to work. They don't really understand what the company is that's installing it. They just know that they bought from this guy named Tony that knocked on his door, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's kind of where our value comes in, is that we don't have to do a high pressure sales pitch. We just have to run the numbers and we have to make sure that the
And that's really like that's essential because if the person the hardest part is getting the qualified lead, but if they're already interested, it's then what is the perfect custom tailored solution for you that fits all your needs, checks all your boxes, and at the end of the day everyone's happy then.
you know, even if people want solar, it still doesn't always make sense because of whatever their situation is. So like currently we have a deal where it's a referral deal. It's literally the next door neighbor of a guy that we installed on. He wants it. He loves solar. He has a Tesla that he charges every night, but he's never at home during the day because he's still at work every day. And his roof is so weird that we might not be able to put enough panels on it to make what he needs to charge his Tesla make it work. Like the numbers, it would be too expensive compared to what he's paying currently for his energy. Now, on that's like this month. Now, on a 20-year timeline, the new solar would be up here versus his energy, what he's currently paying. But that solar price is going to stay right here for 20, 30 years versus that energy price is going to keep doing that on an exponential curve as it goes up, what has been an average of about 11% a year for the past 10 years straight in San Diego. So I don't know if you know how long it takes to double, but on an exponential curve, but it's only a few years on that 10% line. And then you're looking at tripling. So we're looking at over the lifetime of the system, people saving two to $300,000 on their energy costs in San Diego. And there's a lot of places around the country where those numbers are similar.
Wow. I had
So you,
no idea.
yeah, it's this is why I'm saying like it's a good industry. So it's like this, like we make great commissions, but so let's say we make $20,000 commission for a job, but we're saving that person $200,000. So us asking for 10% of what you're gonna save, that sounds like a
Yeah, and on top of that, if it's a $40,000 system or a $30,000 system and they're getting a $15,000 tax credit, it's only 15 grand. It's not that much money, really.
the way we explain it to people is you're not like there's no money down when you buy solar. There's no extra costs up front because all the installers have learned how to just work things into the deal. So basically, what you're doing is you're just doing a bill swap. Because if you don't buy solar, you don't have to stop paying your energy bill. You still have that energy bill, and that energy
Yeah.
bill is going to keep still going up. So all we're doing is a bill swap. We're going, you're going to stop paying your energy to these guys and you're going to start paying your energy to these guys. But the only difference is your solar energy bill is going to stay right here versus this guy is going to keep raising it and taking more and more of your money.
That's genius.
Yeah. So it's really just our jobs is really just to help people understand the numbers of solar and how it's going to benefit them and to make it less scary because it is a $30,000 system, you know, that is a debt on your name. And a lot of people are scared of that. But in the long run, it's going to be a better financial decision to do it.
Yeah, that's that's smart. I like the way you pitch it. It's really about it goes with so many things in life, but it's how you frame it and then what your perspective is and how you can shape that to fit in the box.
Investment.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people don't invest because they're scared or they're short-sighted, um, or they just don't understand compound interest. So it's really an education game. It's because I mean, I'm sure you're aware. I went to public school. I don't know if you went to public
Me too.
school. They barely taught us shit about investing or money or how finances actually work or how to actually become financially free and stable. All we learned is go work for a paycheck, then give your whole paycheck to people so that you can go work for.
Yeah, right. You got the groceries and the 401k and everything else they throw their money in.
That's not how money really works. That's how slavery works. That's how modern slavery works. That's all it is. And so, you got to really feel for people when you're out there. You have to really have a mindset when you're knocking on somebody's door. Hello. Like you have to be there knowing that you can save them money and that there's a reason they haven't bought solar yet. And it's our job to find out what that reason is and then help show them why it's okay that they thought that, but that they should really be thinking about it a little bit differently because whatever their preconceived notions that they came to was wrong. And we need to show them very kindly and politely that they are wrong and that this is actually the right path for them to be taking because they've been brainwashed to think that their best choice is the giant corporate energy companies. Now in San Diego, we have what's called SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric. They don't even make the own energy. They're actually owned by another company called Sempra Energy, which owns multiple energy companies, and we import all of our energy.
From
So
where?
one of the reasons, I think Arizona.
Okay.
And so what happens is when energy travels along power lines and goes through all those little boxes on all the poles and then goes along more power lines, you're losing little fractions of the energy every single foot that that energy travels. So when you have solar on your roof and it has to travel 20 feet to your house, you have almost 100% of the energy that you're making. When you're starting in one state and you move it to another state and you're losing 40, 60, 80% of the original power that they had, how much do they have to raise the price on something that's only 20% as powerful as it is over here? So they have to raise that drastically. I'd say 5 times the value for the cost to reach the 100% value that they had. So you're
Uh,
losing value, so they have to raise the cost to meet their cost of purchasing it from another company.
so you think this is going to be the golden age, the golden goose for the next 10 years, most likely?
That is what everybody in the solar industry is preaching. And they are saying that from the perspective of themselves as salespeople collecting commissions. So, do I think solar is going to get even bigger and bigger and bigger? Yes, it's going to have other ages after these next 10 years. The industry as a whole is going to get exponentially bigger after these next 10 years.
Okay.
It's just going to become more of a commodity, something that is a race to the lowest price, just like a gallon of milk in the store or gas at your gas station. It's everywhere. Everyone's got it, everyone's got access to it. So then it's going to become more of a service industry versus a high commission sales.
So how do you see that changing where the market will get so saturated where it's like now there's no more room to sell solar because as I perceive it, it's kind of like the lifetime value of a client is almost 30 grand, but once you get that one sale, that's you got to get a new client and a new client. How do you combat that?
Always going to be new sales. Just like pretty much everyone has a car, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's still car dealerships and they're still making new cars. So I like to relate solar to cars. Cars last about 10 years. Solar lasts about 20 to 30 years. There's similar costs. Both of them, you could argue, save you money or make your life easier in some way. And there's always going to be new solar deals and new solar installs or panel replacements, things like that. But what we're going to see is a lot more access to the technology because right now it's the technology is gate kept by the manufacturers and installers. I've talked to lots of people that are handymen or electricians or whatever, and they know how to do these things, and they installed their own solar panels and got their own permits and got their own it's called a PTO, permission to operate from the companies. Like they still had to have the inspector come out and be like, all right, yeah, you installed it correctly, it's good to go. But they were able to do it themselves. That's already out there. That already exists. You don't
Right.
have to go through a salesperson and an installer. You can go directly to manufacturer, but they try to keep it in these systems of sales because there's more money in it. It supports salespeople and all of that. But as it becomes more and more available to everyday people, as these different versions come out as well, like the wallpaper solar panels, like people will literally be able to roll it on the side of their outside walls. People are going to be able to start installing these things themselves and or just have a local handyman do it.
Right.
So we're not there yet. We're getting there. We get a lot of inquiries of people that just need their systems maintained, or the company that was providing their solar went out of business and they need somebody new to take it over. And a lot of these are like new problems that companies don't really know how to deal with. Sometimes I have to call 7, 8, 10, 12 companies to find a company that'll be willing to deal with like a small issue that somebody's having, like maybe their inverter box isn't working because solar panels are DC direct current and houses are AC alternating current. So you need an inverter box that changes it over. And sometimes that goes out. They just need a new one. But a lot of people won't be willing to mess with it because it's not a brand new system install. And so I got to call around these companies and be like, all right, can you do this? Are you willing to do this? What's going on here? But we're going to see so much more of that. You're going to start seeing solar companies offering service and maintenance and replacements and things like that. You're going to start seeing refurbished panels hitting the market for a lot lower cost. Be like, hey, these were on my house for 10 years. I can still sell them for this, like whatever. So you're going to see those secondary markets pop up. And so that's kind of why we are building our company the way we are as well, because the right time to start an install company was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The right time to start a service company is probably in another 5 years. So
Okay.
right now we're building something where we can kind of be both and we can build for what the solar company is now and what it's going to be.
And
And
that's
that's
genius.
genius.
That's what
That's
you
what you
need to
need to
do
do
because
because
if you're
if you're
positioned
positioned
right, no
right, no
matter
matter
what
what
happens,
happens,
you're
you're
still
still
gonna,
gonna
stay
stay
profitable.
profitable.
Exactly. It's like, it's great. If we make like two sales, we're profitable on the year. And our goal is to do like two a week. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Well,
Well,
hey,
hey,
Greg, I
Greg, I
won't
won't
hold
hold
you
you
too
too
much
much
longer. I
longer.
know
I
you
know you
got
got
pizza
pizza
over
over
there.
there.
What
What
kind of
kind of
pizza
pizza
you
you
got?
got?
Just a large pepperoni,
Hey, attaboy.
throw some hot honey on it, and just
Ooh, I've never tried that before.
oh, definitely get it. Do you have a Trader Joe's near you?
We do.
Okay. So there's a couple different hot honeys that are popular. Like there's one called Mike's Hot Honey, but I think it's too vinegary. But there is a Trader Joe's hot honey that they sell at Trader Joe's. And I think that is just the El Fuego of all that is El Fuego as far as hot honey is concerned. And
Ooh.
you get a really good pepperoni. Like, I don't know if you have I mean, you're in Chicago. You got
We
all
got good
the,
pizza.
yeah. So get yourself, it's so good on like a nice thick Chicago pie. Uh, just that nice thick crust one with like the little crispy pepperoni cups because they'll just like hold the hot honey in there and you just do it all over the top. Oh my God, it's gonna change your pizza life.
Oh, I'm gonna message you and definitely check this out. Greg, where can people find you on social media?
Find me personally at the Gentleman Gorilla.
Okay.
That is what the name was of my old marketing company. I used to say, I am the Gentleman Gorilla.
That's awesome.
Our logo right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, monocle gentleman gorilla. I had a friend paint that for me and trade for doing a little photo shoot for him during an art show. He's like, "How much should I pay you?" And I was like, "I just want you to paint my logo."
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah. So yeah, I'm at the Gentleman Gorilla. You can message me there. I have links to both my Divana page and my Sunny San Diego Solar page on that Instagram. So we'll just make that easy.
All right.
And I will say that we can sell solar in like 37 states
Okay.
right now, and it's growing every day. We pay fantastic referrals. So if anybody out there wants to add solar, has any questions about solar, or knows somebody that owns a house that should have solar, we'll give you a fat referral fee that starts at $1,000.
Wow.
And if anybody out there wants to sell solar, we can set you up almost anywhere in the nation to start selling solar, and you can start making really good money uh, pretty much anywhere in the nation and starting to be anywhere in the world selling solar.
That's incredible. Well, thank you for coming on today, Greg. I will definitely, talk to my inner circle, see if anyone's interested. Those summer sales jobs are always kind of fun, get you out of the house. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Anthony. Best of luck with you and your business, and let's hop on another podcast in a month or two.
All right, let's do it.
All
Thanks.
right, have a good one.
See you, Greg.
Bye.